And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of 504 TV Black Television Network. I'm your host, Joe Jones, and thank you so much for tuning in. Unapologetic. This segment brought to you tonight by our great sponsors. And we thank all our supporters, we thank our viewers, and we thank those who give constructive criticism to help us move forward in what we do with 504 Black Network Television. Now, as you see that name there on the streets, that is a particular segment. It is a show that we do that will be done in a whole different manner upcoming in the near future. We have quite a few different individuals and different takes on topics pertaining to what that will cover on the streets unhinged. But I will still come to you live to tape and live and direct with Unapologetic. Partly because I'm the producer, I guess I could do that. But the main reason is because I feel there's some things that need to be said. There are things that need to be brought out in a very clear and direct way. In other words, there's issues and there's topics that everybody has something to say about. They have some view or some opinion on it. However, what happens many times, people are or mum, or they get into this politically correct mode, and they're afraid to say certain things certain ways, or even bring about certain aspects of a topic because of nothing else but fear. And speaking of fear, and also speaking of unapologetic, that's one of the topics I want to cover tonight. In fact, here's the topic. Cowards. Got a lot of cowards in New Orleans. Got a lot of cowards in Louisiana. Matter of fact, we got a lot of cowards in America, period. Now, right now, I'm not going to make commentary or talk about worldwide cowards because we have a whole bunch of them also. But right now, I'm talking about homegrown cowards in New Orleans, in Louisiana, and quite frankly, in America. Now, I'm explaining that in detail as we get further into the segment when we talk about this topic, cowards. But let me complete this intro. All right. One of the things that has to be made very, very clear, okay? And I mentioned this in the last program that I did. And by the way, let me tell you something. It's getting harder and harder for me to do these programs. I'm going to tell you why it's getting harder and harder for me to do these programs. Because I actually air these programs a lot on the access deal, the community access deal, and there's certain rules and regs that have to be followed. Of course, there's rules and regs that have to be followed on many uh, outlets. You know, whether it doesn't matter what it is, whether it broadcast outlet, cable outlet, whatever, and some degree, lesser degrees in cable and lesser degrees in other types of outlets. You know, vis-a-vis the internet, the web, you know, the streaming video and whatnot. But the point is, it is getting harder and harder for me to do a lot of these programs with a lot of topics because there's a lot of passion and there's a lot of I don't know, I guess for lack of a better word, there is a lot of disgust that I see out there dealing with a lot of things, in particularly in the black community, but in the community in general. So there's a lot of disgust inside of me. So there's some things I really want to say a certain kind of way, maybe even use some obscene words, but that's not professional and that's not really nice. But it doesn't mean that there isn't some justification to do that, to show the level of disgust, anger, and just flat out disappointment that you have when you see what takes place and what goes on a day-to-day basis that impacts people in a very negative way. People who, quite frankly, are not equipped to deal with what's being put on them. Okay, so I make sure that I put everything into context. I make sure that I put it in a very professional, deliverable, polite way, as polite as I could be, still underneath the unapologetic framework. Because let me tell you something, that is a fact. I am not apologetic about any of the things that I say because, number one, I feel firmly, I feel passionate, and I feel solidly about what I say and what I see and what I've been blessed to perceive. Now, many individuals may not appreciate some of the things they hear that come from me. That's fine. That's your right, that's your, prerogative or whatever you want to call it. That's great. And it's also your right and your prerogative to give feedback, whatever you feel would be warranted. Which, by the way, I have gotten quite a bit of feedback in the last program. Some comments were very, very, raw as far as what my particular take on our 44th President, Barack Obama. And I gave him 2 grades in the last program. If you haven't viewed it, well, knock on the friend's door and get a copy of it that they may have videotaped for posterity or something. But anyway, but we will have those programs, archive programs, and that's really my fault. I haven't really been putting a lot of effort and energy behind that to archive a lot of programs that we have done, put them on the websites, and also to have access to those programs and information of those programs, some of the commentaries and editorials on those programs, um, you know, to the general public whenever they had a feeling or like to just go ahead and look it up. So, but we are beginning that process. We will have that complete, God bless, by the beginning of 2013. So, you Google 504 Black, 504 Black TV, Joe Nola, Joe Jones, 504 Black, or whatever. You're gonna come up with a whole bunch of stuff. Just look at that, follow the prompts or whatever, and links and all that kind of stuff, and just find what you want to find. But we'll have all that together in a very cohesive and I think productive way, an efficient way. Uh, God bless by 2013. But anyway, back to unapologetic. Unapologetic. That's my feeling. I am unapologetic about the things that I say. And I'm not going to back down or back off from the things that I see. Because, first of all, number one, those things I say help another individual get their life right or get their perspective going in the right direction or change their negative viewpoint on something to a positive viewpoint on something and bring about a significant change in their life, then I'm good with that. So if a million people don't like it, but it helps one person, I'm good with that. Because I'm not trying to run a popularity contest. Couldn't care less. After I already got my #1 fan, Chris. By the way, Chris, I'm going to return your phone call. I'm not ignoring you. I'm not ignoring you, dude. I'm going to call you. I know you called me a couple, 3 times. And plus, I'm going to get you a t-shirt. Just that I've been doing a bunch of stuff. So I will call you. All right? Uh, and by the way, speaking of Chris, the last program, I didn't really explain to the viewing audience out there in detail just exactly who Mr. Chris is. Mr. Chris is one of our uh, uh, not mentally, I apologize, Chris, physically challenged individuals in our society, okay? But don't let that fool you. He's an extremely strong individual. He is an extremely intelligent individual, and he's also an extremely forceful individual with his thoughts and his views on what he feels uh, is, okay? And those are the types of individuals that motivate me to be able to get behind this microphone and say some of the things that I say, get involved in some of the things that I get involved in, and again, be unapologetic about it. Because at the end of the whole process, again, as I said, if it helps one person and you get a million people irritated about it, so what? Couldn't care less. Now, back to the topic, the original topic.